Welcome everybody for this afternoon's seminar. Just wanted to reveal Warbang that me and the team have been working on. So, inspiration. So recently we spent some time at Bristol and got to see the cathedral, which is fairly spectacular in its own right. Even more so, we had the choir playing, practicing while we were there, and that became a real inspiration for what could be a new warband. Well, obviously the immediate thing is Devoted of Sigmar. They are exactly where you would imagine to be, living in a cathedral. But then became the idea, well, that's a lot to do. That's a lot of guys. And where can we put a bit of a spin on it? So we all know right now going on, we've got the malign portents. We're beginning to understand a lot more about death, about its impact, and how we all work together. So the idea came about that perhaps in the same way that Sigmar can mess with how souls interact with the realms, what if when the devoted die, they don't necessarily get immediately under control by Nagash? So that came back to the idea, well, what would be their nexus? What would be the point by which they were going to be anchored there? Well, it'd really be the church where they would worship, or the chapel. So for me, the immediate thing to do is go to Pinterest. Obviously there's lots of arts and crafts there, but also some great inspiration for how we could make these devoted appear. So the idea being is that their souls would get captured within the architecture, within the statues, within the gargoyles. And so how would we model those? Well, we'd want them to look old. So we've obviously got examples here of moss, how that grows. And again, for me, we wanted to make sure it wasn't just the same models that, painted in stone. So one of my inspirations for a lot of my work is Mike Mignola, and he does enjoy a good skull head. So for me, skull heads were the way to go. So you see some work in progress models here, and it's very simple. Like this one here, we've got the warrior priest with a skull head, and obviously with the box of skulls that we have now available, we've got real options around that. And we obviously decided that, hey, why not have a statue of a Stormcast? But again, being able to pick and choose the skulls, we could use the old skeleton skulls for the bigger heads on the Stormcast, and then use the new sprue for the more human-sized ones. They only need a little bit of a neck, otherwise they were just too low down once you've taken the head off. But this then brought us our warband together, which are mainly flagellants. We have a warrior priest, the main character here, which is actually 40k Inquisitor, with Dark Eldar wings and a Stormcast sword, but comes together really well, and we're going to be running him as a witch hunter. So we've got these painted up now, and again you can see we've used the techniques we spotted that within the Pinterest. So we've got a lot of moss, and obviously what we see is when we look at real life reference, a lot of it grows on one side. Also what we've allowed us to do is to use extra colour. So we've got these autumn leaves, and we've got vines growing up, again, which kind of gives them the feel that they've actually been still at some stage. So this is the warband, and obviously we'll be running that very soon alongside all the happenings of malign portents. So thank you very much, everyone.